2D Mario games are without a doubt some of the most popular and iconic Mario games of all time. Super Mario Bros. 1 and 3, Super Mario World, and just the entire New Super Mario Bros. Series as a whole were not only many's first introduction to Mario, but were also many's first introduction to video games in general. And what a great introduction they are. These are games that just about anybody, regardless of their skill level, could easily pick up, play, and get some form of enjoyment out of. But just playing those same Nintendo-designed levels over and over again eventually gets boring. What if there was a way to make your own Mario levels? What if Nintendo were to make a Mario game centered not just around playing levels, but making them? Well, in 2015, that dream would finally become a reality, with the release of the highly anticipated
Super Mariomikester!
The idea of a Mario level editor was something that had been passed around for years. Ever since the release of the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES back in 1985, players had always dreamed of being able to make their own Mario courses that they could share with others. And even as early as the year 2000, programs for computers existed that allowed people to do exactly that. But these fan-made level editors weren't nearly as easy to pick up and simple to learn as people wanted. Understanding and even getting these programs to work in the first place required tons of prior knowledge of computers, ROMs, and the internal workings of Mario games. And it's not like Nintendo was against the idea of a Mario level editor either. In 1994, they filed patents for a standalone console that would have been entirely dedicated to level editing. However, likely due to the increased interest in 3D games over 2D games at the time, this idea was quickly abandoned. And for the next several years, the idea of a Mario level editor would sit at the back of the company's mind. But sometime in early 2015, while a development team at Nintendo was working on a tool that would make creating and testing 2D Mario levels much easier for their level designers, they quickly realized just how much potential this tool had in combination with the Wii U gamepad, and just how much potential it had as a game in general. And so they pitched the idea to Takashi Tezuka, a senior game designer at Nintendo who'd been working on Mario games ever since Super Mario Bros. On the NES. To their surprise, Tezuka absolutely loved the concept, and eventually ended up serving as the game's lead producer, bringing a lot of ideas from Mario Paint into the game, even inspiring the game's original logo. And so, after a just over 2-year development period spanning from early 2013 to mid-2015, Super Mario Maker was released worldwide on September 10th, 2015. Upon starting the game for the first time, you're greeted with a level that very vaguely resembles the beginning of 1-1 from Super Mario Bros. As you move through this empty level though, you'll eventually be met with a giant gap. As you attempt to cross this gap with a jump and are just about to fail, the game will interrupt you with a text box telling you that someone left the stage unfinished and that it's up to you to complete it. After that, you're right into the editor. You're not bombarded by long-winded paragraphs about how you make stages or how all the objects work. Rather, the game gives you some visual guidance on where objects need to go to finish the level, but ultimately leaves it up to the player to find out about how a lot of the objects work themselves. I absolutely love this. Mario Maker is all about creativity, and a lot of that initial creativity comes from just experimenting with things and seeing what works. If you were told every little thing about this game's mechanics, there would be almost no point to experiment with things. I remember playing levels online and just being shocked when they would make use of a mechanic I had no idea about, and just how inspired I would be to head into the level editor myself and experiment with this mechanic and see what I could do with it. One thing Super Mario Maker does to encourage this experimentation though, is actually really interesting. You see, after completing the game's tutorial, you'll notice that 2 of the 4 game styles advertised are missing, and that you only have 1 row of objects you can use. This is because the game actually limits what the player can create when they first start playing the game. Instead of having everything right away, you'll get deliveries over the course of 7 days that bring you tons of new things to create with. For example, one of the days brings you the Super Mario Bros. 3 game style, along with the airship level theme and a bunch of objects, items, and enemies you'd find in airship levels. While another brings you the Super Mario World style, along with the Ghost House level theme and all the objects and enemies you'd find in there. Personally, I think this approach is a great way to get people familiar with all the game has to offer by having specific days dedicated to specific things. But I also think that this is heavily limiting in some ways as well, especially to those who were really excited to use an object that wouldn't arrive for a few days. Luckily though, if you really wanted everything all in one day, you could just change the date on your Wii U. Once you do have everything unlocked though, actually making levels is incredibly fun. The Wii U gamepad works perfectly here. Being able to easily select objects and essentially draw the stage with your finger or the stylus works so well. I've always found the Wii U gamepad to be one of Nintendo's most comfortable controllers, and Mario Maker just accentuates that even more. The UI itself is designed so well that almost any tool or object you need is just a tap or two away. Navigating through this UI and finding what you need is just so easy and simple. It's practically impossible to get lost or confused here due to how well everything is set up. I absolutely love how some course elements have different variants if you shake them quickly, like shaking Bowser to get Bowser Jr., or shaking a green Koopa to get a red one. These hidden elements not only condense the tool palette and make it much easier to navigate, they also encourage some experimentation for players new to the game. I remember having a lot of fun when the game first came out, just shaking all the course elements and seeing what they would reveal. This level of interaction isn't just limited to shaking items though. Mario Maker also holds a bunch of little secrets if you interact with items in other ways as well. For example, if you place a door down, you can actually knock on it by tapping it. And if you knock on the door for long enough, well... This skinny Mario actually has multiple costume variants for each game style, and it's just such a goofy little Easter egg. And I mean, this is just one of many hidden Easter eggs Mario Maker has to offer. Even the title screen has its fair share of Easter eggs if you press certain letters.
That fucking bird that I hate.
That fucking bird that I hate. That fucking bird that I hate.
That fucking bird that I hate.
The game is full of stuff like this, and just goes to show how much love and care was put into making it. Heading back to the Course Maker though, I want to talk about one of the best things it does. Its sound design and music. While you're editing a course, there's various music that will play depending on what game style and course theme you're editing in. For example, if you're making a course in the Super Mario Bros. 3 style using the ground level theme, the music that plays while you're editing will be a calm rendition of the ground theme from that game. This holds true for every single game style and course theme in the game. And while yes, it is cool to hear these laid-back modern renditions of classic Mario themes, this isn't even close to the best part of it. You see, when you place an object, enemy, or item into a level, you'll hear a robotic voice saying the name of the element you placed. But what's cool about this voice is that it's actually pitched to match the music currently playing. Take a listen. This is so cool. I've always loved this detail, as it just adds so much more charm to editing a level. I mean, the music itself was already cool enough, but this essentially just integrates the music into making a level. Along with this, I absolutely adore how seamlessly the music changes between the editing and playing mode. It just makes testing and experimenting with your level that much more smooth and, well, seamless.
Let's go!
Another really cool aspect of Super Mario Maker's course editor that I don't really see people talking about anymore is the amiibo costumes. Amiibo costumes were costumes that allowed players to play as a variety of characters in the Super Mario Bros. 1 style based on what amiibo they scanned. For example, if you scanned a Princess Peach amiibo, you would unlock the Princess Peach amiibo costume. These costumes not only gave tons of purpose to amiibos, but they also allowed players to theme certain levels after certain characters, which is something I've always loved about this game. And these amiibo costumes weren't just limited to Mario characters either. You could get costumes from all different Nintendo franchises like Zelda, Metroid, F-Zero, Animal Crossing, and Pokemon, but also non-Nintendo franchises too like Sonic, Pac-Man, Mega Man, and even Hello Kitty for some reason. Having the ability to create a puzzle-themed level and have the player play as Link, or create a speedrun-themed level and have the player play as Sonic, added so much to the experience. The amiibo costumes were one of the coolest new additions in Super Mario Maker. It is such a shame that this feature was removed in the sequel. Speaking of new additions though, Super Mario Maker actually introduces and also changes a lot about 2D Mario. For example, in New Super Mario Bros. U, if you were to try to spin jump off of enemies like piranha plants and thwomps like you could in Super Mario World, you would take damage and just pass right through them. Whereas in Super Mario Maker's Mario U game style, You can now spin jump off of almost any spiked enemy, which allows for a ton of level ideas. Along with this, Super Mario Maker also introduces some new course themes and enemies to certain game styles that they never appeared in. Enemies like Boos, Monty Moles, Thwomps, and Wigglers can now appear in the Super Mario Bros. 1 style, and even have completely unique sprites to reflect Mario 1. Course themes like the Ghost House that never appeared in either Super Mario Bros. 1 or 3 now appear in Super Mario Maker, and even feature completely new music tracks using the same sound fonts used in those games' original OSTs. I absolutely love the new tracks composed for course themes that never appeared in the original games. These new tracks feel exactly like they were meant for that game style, and I mean it's not very surprising that they do either. The man responsible for composing these new themes, and just Super Mario Maker's OST in general, was exactly the same man responsible for composing the OSTs of all the game styles featured here in the first place, Koji Kondo. It is so cool that this game allows you to make stages and certain level themes that weren't present in some of the original games. And it's even cooler that they got new music. But enough about making Super Mario Maker levels. I think it's time we actually talk about playing Super Mario Maker levels. I mean, being able to make 2D Mario levels was one thing, but actually being able to share these levels online and play other people's levels added a whole new layer to the experience. There was an almost infinite amount of levels you could play, and whether they were simple recreations of levels from past Mario games, or near impossible Kaizo gauntlets that required almost frame-perfect inputs to complete, it was really hard to get bored of this game due to the sheer amount of stages there were to play. Super Mario Maker has the ability to appeal to pretty much any Mario fan due to how diverse its level genres are. You obviously have your traditional Mario levels, but you also have auto levels, where you don't move a muscle and just let the game play itself for you while you perform a bunch of cool tricks by doing absolutely nothing. You have speedrun levels where you have to make quick decisions and complete the stage within 20 to 30 seconds. You have music levels where you listen to note block renditions of popular songs. You have puzzle levels where you're using your brain to solve puzzles, you got Kaizo levels like I mentioned before, and finally, you have probably the most infamous Super Mario Maker level genre of them all, troll levels, where you, well, get trolled. These level genres also had communities to them. You had communities dedicated to making the coolest auto levels that would work together and experiment with ways to create the craziest spectacles they could. You had communities dedicated to making the hardest Kaizo levels that would collaborate together and share ideas on certain tricks they could introduce to spice up their levels. The community aspect of Super Mario Maker was huge, and probably my favorite element of the online aspect of the game. It was so cool to be able to leave comments and see other people's comments appear throughout the stage. And after you beat a level, you got to see what other people thought about it and leave your own thoughts on the stage. I remember I used to share my levels on Miiverse and get so excited when someone liked my post or played my level. Super Mario Maker is a big reason behind why I love the Wii U's community aspect so much. But the community aspect of Super Mario Maker wasn't just restricted to the Wii U itself. This game also had a huge YouTube community. When it came out, you had some of the biggest YouTubers on the platform like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye starting entire series on the game. You had YouTubers who based their entire channel around the game and grew because of it. You had YouTubers like Dash who would have their fans submit levels, with these fans trying to troll them or just give them a difficult challenge. Super Mario Maker was perfect for YouTube content. There was practically an infinite amount of levels to make videos on, and there were so many elements of the game to explore to keep viewers entertained and coming back for more. And this content, and just the game in general, was so approachable because it was Mario, a game franchise everyone knew. Overall, the community aspect of Super Mario Maker was one of the strongest aspects of the entire game, and just something that made the whole experience so much more memorable and enjoyable. Super Mario Maker is easily one of the best games on the Wii U. This game takes an idea that Mario fans have always dreamed of and makes it a reality. It makes perfect use of the Wii U gamepad, and honestly should have been a launch title for the system due to how well it demonstrates what the controller could do. Making levels here is such a blast, not only because of the gamepad, but also because of the sheer amount of charm present in the course maker. The custom music, the voice pitch to match that music, and the various little secrets you can uncover will just leave you with a big smile on your face the entire time. The amiibo costumes were an excellent way to give the amiibo some use in the game, and allowed for incredibly well-designed levels themed around certain characters. Being able to share your levels online and play other people's stages in an instant was so much fun. And the whole community aspect surrounding it just made it all the more enjoyable. Super Mario Maker is a game I will always cherish. It was such a simple idea and concept, but executed masterfully well. I really do love its sequel on the Switch and do plan to cover it someday, but the original on the Wii U will always have a soft spot in my heart. This game is amazing!